Great. Thank you so much, Heather. And thanks everyone for jumping on this webinar. It's really exciting to see hundreds of you on here. So yeah, so as Heather said, I'll introduce myself a little bit more in a moment, but we want to look today and deep dive really on Facebook fundraising. And I've kind of titled this presentation, double your income from Facebook fundraising. And you know, I think there's a lot of confusion around Facebook fundraising. There's a lot of love and a lot of hate around Facebook fundraising and Facebook itself. From my point of view, you know, it's been very exciting times. We have over 100 nonprofits using our platform from 6 different countries, a lot in the US. So I really want to share some inside secrets with you today of how nonprofits are making income and generating new support through Facebook fundraising. So I'll just dive in because I've got a lot of content to cover in a short amount of time. So hopefully you can see the slide there. In the next 60 minutes, this is kind of what we want to cover. So I'm going to kind of recap why Facebook fundraising is such a game changer for you guys if you're working for a nonprofit. So it really is a game changer. I'm going to explain like the kind of the deeper context of why it's so important. And then I'm going to share with you the #1 strategy for thanking supporters and, importantly, getting contact data. So actually, I don't know how many of you actually have used Facebook tools right now to raise money. I don't know if that's something. Heather, are we able to use the chat feature to ask people a question like that? So are we able to do that, Heather?
Yes, you can do it if you'd like to take a break, and you can send it to all entire audience.
Okay, so guys, just let me know in the chat feature if you if you signed up on the Facebook giving tools. So have you signed up to the Facebook giving tools? And I'd love to know how many of you have. Maybe you're here and you've signed up to the Facebook giving tools. Maybe you're just like wanting to know some strategies for the time where you do that. So I'd just be really interested to know, have you guys signed up for the Facebook giving tools? If you have, one of the things you know is getting contact data from Facebook, getting information from your donors and your fundraisers is one of the key problems. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to give you the #1 strategy for solving that problem. And then we're also going to look at the 2 best methods for getting more fundraisers, right? A lot of us who are using Facebook fundraising tools are just like waiting for the fundraisers to be set up for us and waiting for the income to come in. But there's really 2 really new and exciting things that you can do to actually generate more income and you know, double that income from Facebook fundraising. And then we're going to, as Heather said, leave time for Q&A. So you know, that's my promise to you guys. In the next 60 minutes, we'll cover all of that. So a little bit about me. This is my full-time job. This picture here of me and my family in Greece last year. So my wife and my 2 daughters, and really these girls, they're my full-time job. That's what I do full-time. And then as a kind of side project, I do online fundraising. And so I've raised over $1 billion for some amazing nonprofits since 2005. I've been lucky to work with organizations in over 36 countries, and including the US. I started a program called Raise Through in 2017, which was really a program that was helping nonprofits crack Facebook advertising for donor acquisition. So really focused, how I got started was really focusing on Facebook ads. And that's when our clients started discovering that they were making you know, really significant income from Facebook's tools. And we started helping them out with the management of their Facebook tools, how they would communicate with their fundraisers, how they would get contact data from Facebook. And we started doing everything manually. And then earlier last year in March, we launched GivePanel, which is a power tool for managing Facebook fundraising. And that's all it does. All we do all day, every day, is we help our clients with Facebook fundraising. So hopefully you're hearing from kind of someone who's got a lot of experience in this area. That's what I want you to know. Heather, did we get an answer to that question about people being signed up for the giving tools?
Yes, we did. We've got, I'm going to say, about 40 yeses, maybe 50.
Great. So that's a great number. So we're going to, hopefully those who haven't turned on the Facebook giving tools, by the end of today, you'll be convinced to turn them on. and those that already have the giving tools are going to be raising more and solving some of the problems that come with Facebook giving tools. So just to recap what the Facebook giving tools actually are, I think is really important, because when I talk with this to different nonprofits, they're still a little bit confused about what the tools can do and how they're structured. And this is the easiest way to think about it, guys. There's 4 different kind of tools within Facebook giving tools. So the first is donate, right? We kind of get this. It's a slick donation experience, 2 thumb taps, and people can make a donation to your nonprofit without leaving Facebook. And that's really good. It started when a couple of developers in Facebook were kind of upset that they couldn't donate to the Facebook to the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. So they decided, wouldn't it be cool if people could make a donation on Facebook? So that came first. And then Facebook did all sorts of testing about like how people could make more donations on the platform, and birthday fundraisers really took off. I mean, birthdays are something that are big on Facebook anyway, before fundraising came along. And so it's not a surprise that birthday fundraisers really took off on the platform. We're going to be talking a lot about birthday fundraisers today. The next area is, just other kind of fundraisers. So people that do events for you, fundraising events, or do their own events, DIY for you. They can set up a fundraising page. And really, this is a real growth area on the platform as people realize how much Facebook pages raise compared to other peer-to-peer platforms. More and more supporters and fundraisers are starting their own fundraisers for events, and that's something that is definitely a growth area as Facebook integrates with tools like Blackboard and other fundraising platforms. And then finally, you guys can start your own fundraiser for your nonprofit. So you can start what's called a page fundraiser, and that's where you start. You can, pick something specific for your cause and raise money for it, and that really acts like crowdfunding. So I just wanted to explain, those are the kind of 4 main things that Facebook giving tools comprises of. So they're very powerful, and we'll explain why in 2 seconds. Because they're so powerful, they've had absolutely crazy growth. So there's kind of a bit of a weird thing where some people are saying that Facebook fundraising isn't growing. That's absolutely not true. It took about 3 years to get to 1 billion, and then another year to get to 2 billion in terms of how much it's raised. So it's growing significantly. And 45 million people have donated or started a Facebook fundraiser, which sounds like a lot, right? Until you realize that there's over 2 billion people on the platform. So we might be in kind of an echo chamber ourselves if we think that everyone's doing fundraising, because maybe we're running our Giving Tuesday campaigns and we're seeing a lot of birthday fundraising. But the average person on the street still has not given to a charity, a nonprofit, through Facebook fundraising, let alone set up a fundraiser or a birthday fundraiser. So, with 2.1 billion people on the platform, there's still over 2 billion people who have not done a non-profit donation or fundraiser. So the way that I look at this, and I was chatting to Heather before this, before you guys all kind of joined, this is early days for social fundraising, guys. This is far from over. This is just the very beginning. Who knows what's going to happen next? I'm really excited. And Facebook are putting lots of resources into this for the future. It's a key part of their strategy where their senior leadership is involved. So there we are, crazy growth. And what we want to do as nonprofits and fundraisers is we want to ride the wave as long as we can. We want to use this tool as effectively as we can for our mission and our cause. So we're going to look at 4 ways that you can double income through Facebook fundraising. I'm not going to go through today how you set up Facebook fundraising. I'll give you my contact details in this, and I can send you to some great resources on how to set up if you haven't already. I'm going to assume that you've set up Facebook fundraising, and then we're going to look at 4 ways that you can double income, okay? Before I do, I'm going to just share with you why it's such a game changer, why this is such a it's such an inflection point for digital fundraising, and it's something that I've been waiting for over a decade. I was kind of dreaming of a tool that did this. So the first reason is Facebook Donate and Facebook Fundraising dramatically reduces the friction, okay? So convenience trumps everything. We know this when we shop online, when we do things online, when we go to forms online, we want it to be super simple. And if it's complicated, we're gonna leave almost immediately. And the thing that Facebook understands, it has the top user experience designers in the world. They understand how important friction is and how making a donation, making things easy and quick is, and convenience trumps everything. So there's this great statistic that 88% of those who donate say they're likely to give through Facebook in the future, and that is because it's so easy, it's so pleasurable. It's 2 taps. They don't have to navigate they don't have to leave this very interactive social experience, go to your website and kind of, click 70 times to fill in your donation form with their thumb on a mobile device. They can do it in 2 thumb taps. So that's the #1 reason why this is working, folks. No login, it's all happening on the Facebook platform, and it's super easy. So this is kind of the old way. If I left Facebook to donate to an organization, you might be hit with a platform and a login button. And now the new way is, if I want to donate to someone's fundraiser, I just literally donate, never have to leave Facebook. I don't have to log in. I don't have to remember my passwords for another platform. It's just works and it's just seamless. And that is why Facebook fundraising pages raise on average about double what a third-party peer-to-peer platform works. So that's working hugely well for this. The second reason is that Facebook fundraising is the first time in history that we've had a digital fundraising platform that is natively inside the social graph. So the social graph is what connects everyone on a social network like Facebook. It's all your connections. Imagine kind of a spider web, a kind of map of all of the people that you're connected to. And what Facebook tools are great at is they're native inside that, which means, and Facebook have utilized the social graph to make suggestions in your experience. So here's an example of what it might look like in your notifications. You have Debbie donated to her own birthday fundraiser, which you're following. You have Paul added a photo to his birthday fundraiser. So every time you do something on Facebook, it's telling your friends about it. So it's naturally viral. You have to do less work. Gone are the days where people have to kind of post their fundraising page and email it out to everyone. All you have to do is set up a Facebook fundraiser and it does the work for you. And so that's why it's so exciting, because Facebook are really leveraging the power of the social graph of that many people as well. It becomes incredibly powerful. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but obviously there's been a lot of these bushfires and wildfires in Australia. And the biggest Facebook fundraiser ever launched, I think it was on the 3rd of January. And within 24 hours, it had raised $15 million. It's now out to about $30 million. It was incredibly quick. And that was because as people donated and contributed to that fundraiser, it told other people in their network, which then created a viral effect. And so that's what we can take advantage of in a small way when we allow our supporters to fundraise for us on this new platform. And like I said, it's a game changer. It's the only time this has happened, first time, and there's no other platform that does it quite like this. And then the final thing before we look at the four things that you're going to do to double your Facebook income is there's no cost, 0% fees. Gone are the days of having to pay fees. There's no transaction fees whatsoever. But more importantly than that is there's no platform costs. So, you might be in a nonprofit who has invested in another platform, but today, if you were to start digital fundraising right now, you may not even invest in your own platform. You may just use Facebook because there's no platform fee and no transaction fee. So that's absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Facebook is in the business of advertising. They are 100% using nonprofits in order to build more data on their platform. It's very powerful data to know who's generous, who's giving on the platform, and no doubt they'll monetize that in form of advertising in the future. And so it's our job to use them right back, right? So they're using us to sell advertising. It's our job as charities and as nonprofits and fundraisers to use this tool as much as we can to get income for our mission. That's the way that we look at it. If they're using us, we're going to use them right back. And I think that's a healthy relationship. So if you haven't already, turn on the tap. You will find that even without any marketing budget, without anything, if you simply just switch on the Facebook giving tools, you will start to get income, and people will find you. If you are not there, there's a number of times I've wanted to donate to an organization and I've tried to do it through Facebook. They haven't been there. I haven't given them money because it's just too difficult to go and work out their own donation form. So, you have to be in it to win it. Go and register if you haven't already. I'll give some resources at the end if you haven't turned it on about how you might do that. So guys, that's kind of how powerful this platform is. But I wanted to talk to you about 4 ways that you can double income. Okay, so we're going to get into these 4. And these are really the top things that are working for our clients, right? So we've got, like I said, 100 nonprofits in 6 countries, all working about how they can improve their Facebook fundraising. And here's the 4 ways that we're getting success. Okay, so number 1. It pays to say thank you. Okay, it pays to say thank you. So there's 3 reasons that you want to thank your Facebook fundraisers. And here I'm not talking about your donors. Okay, I'm not talking about donors that come through the platform. Most success that is happening right now on Facebook is people setting up birthday fundraisers. That's the biggest thing that's happening. If you look at GivePanel data through hundreds of thousands of Facebook transactions that we have, I would say 95% of them are something to do with birthday fundraisers. When I say you want to thank the Facebook fundraiser, you don't want to thank the donors of the Facebook fundraiser. You just want to thank the Facebook fundraisers themselves. And I can unpack that in the Q&A section if you want to talk more about that. But we're focusing on the super supporters, the people who are raising money for you, not the ones who are giving to their friends. So the reasons you want to thank these people, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but number 1, it increases the trust and likability of your nonprofit for the future. Many of these fundraisers who are setting up fundraisers for you, they might have been hanging around your social media community for a while, but they're kind of new to your organization. Most of them are not currently on your database. And so, you want to build trust and likability with those people. Goes without saying. But the second thing, and the really interesting thing, is it actually increases. We've done so many tests now, and we know, because we've benchmarked this, that it increases the average raised per fundraiser. So when you thank a fundraiser, on average, that means that person will raise more. And then finally, you can use it to capture postal and email address of fundraisers. So this is the key thing. Facebook, we're going to talk about the data problem, but you can actually use thanking, if you're clever, to actually get contact information from your Facebook fundraisers, which is the number 1 thing nonprofits tell us that they wish was different about Facebook fundraising, was they want to get the contact information from these supporters. So how do we go about thanking these Facebook fundraisers? Well, as I was saying, it's really difficult because you have 0% contact details for them. You get about 2% of donor email addresses. When someone donates to someone's fundraiser, they're asked to be added to your email list with a little checkbox after they donate. And only 2% of people do that because really they're giving to their friends, right? They're giving, they're quite cold to your organization. They're giving because their friend is asking or their loved one is asking. Unfortunately, Facebook do not share any contact information, no address information, no email with your organization. 0%. You will not find any. So if you don't have their contact details, it kind of begs the question, well, how do you thank them at all? How do you communicate with them? And so what you need to do is you need to post thank you messages on the fundraisers page. Okay. So you want to do this under your nonprofits page. So you want to do it kind of under your page brand and your page name. And you want to reach out to their fundraiser page on their wall of their fundraiser, and you want to post a thank you message. And you want to be as super personal as you can. So it's very personal. So in this example, it's like, hi, Danielle, and many thanks, Jill. So it's from a specific person, not from an organization. People really respond to people, and we've tested this. You want to keep it super short. You can use emojis to do that. It's very mobile. The likelihood is your fundraiser is going to see this message on their mobile device, right? Because most people use Facebook on their mobile device. So emojis help kind of make it more mobile and save time. And the great thing is you can include links. And this is where we really start to do some exciting stuff about getting their contact details. You want it to be signed off by someone kind of official from the organization. and then you can add an image if you want, and I'll talk to you. I'll kind of maybe mention why you might not add an image in a minute. Just to say at this point, we are posting this thank you message right on the fundraisers page itself. It's really important that we do not directly message the fundraiser through Facebook Messenger. So on every fundraising page, on every fundraiser page, you have the ability to actually message that fundraiser. And the big reason you don't want to do this, guys, is because the response rate is terrible. We've tested it. That's the number one reason. It ends up in their other inbox in Messenger, and so it kind of looks dodgy and like spam. It's together with all the spam from kind of, you know, people that aren't your Facebook friends who spam you about things from groups and other things like that. You might know what I mean. It's kind of the other inbox in Messenger. It's actually quite hard to find. That's why the response rate is terrible. You can only actually start a conversation on Messenger with someone using a personal profile as well. So you can't actually message using your nonprofit page. You would have to create a personal profile, and then obviously all that interaction with that supporter is then tied to a personal profile rather than your organization's page. So there's other reasons too, but these are just the top three. But we really do not recommend messaging them on Messenger. What we want to do is we want to post something on their Facebook page. Okay. Now, you're probably realizing that this is a manual process. It's not like an email where you can do it in bulk. You actually have to do this one by one, and that's true. We recommend it takes about 50 fundraisers, 50 supporters per hour for us to do. So if you're getting 50 fundraisers set up for you on Facebook every month, it takes you 1 hour every month to do. So it's not that bad. So yes, it is a manual process, but actually using tools, using GivePanel, for example, is 50 supporters an hour. You know, even if you're getting 200 fundraisers every month, that'd be good, and you'd be making quite a lot of income, and it only takes you 4 hours, 1 hour a week to get through. So it's not that bad. Yes, it is a manual process, but it's not as bad as you think. And this is the kicker, really. This is the big thing about it pays to thank people. We have found that you can get an extra $5 to $10 for every fundraiser that you thank, right? And it actually, that means that like any cost, any staff cost or volunteer, you know, you might get volunteers to do it, it pays for itself. So when we do this for clients, we charge about $1 to message a fundraiser. So there's a 5 to 10 to 1 return right on that, the cost of thanking them. So it kind of pays to thank. So why wouldn't you do it? So that's number one. That is the number one thing. It pays to thank. And hey guys, let's be honest, it's the right thing to do anyway. Okay. The second thing to double your Facebook income, right, is you want to get the contact information. This is the big thing that people want to know, and we do this by using the thank you message in a clever way. So as I said, 0% contact details for fundraisers. So we went into our lab, this is me in my crazy lab, and went, okay, how can we solve this problem? How can we help our nonprofit clients get some contact info from Facebook? Facebook are going through all sorts of things around data with Cambridge Analytica and scandals and all sorts of things, right? They're not gonna just right now turn a corner and share all the fundraiser details. So what can we do given the constraints that we have, given the fact that we have the ability to message these fundraisers on their Facebook page? And this is the number one best strategy that we found, okay? We post a simple message on their fundraising page that asks them if they want, that we, you know, tells them we'd like to send you a little gift in the post. Please contact us, right? And so it's to say thank you. It's very, very simple. This is Jill, my friend. She works for Mental Health Ireland. She helped kind of pioneer this with us. And she started out, this was before GivePanel, before we kind of linked up some of the data. And she just literally said, look, hey, Daniel, you know, hey, fundraiser, we'd love to send you a little gift in the post to say thank you. Give us your data, we can do that. And that is still the best way of actually getting contact information. But really, it's unlimited ideas, guys, for what you can do in that message. So some of our clients, they don't want to send something in the post. They just simply say, hi fundraiser, thank you so much for fundraising for us. It really is going to help do X, Y, and Z. you know, we'd love to make sure that we attribute the funds that you raise to your record on our systems. This really helps our work. Please fill in some information on this form, and they put a link into to the GivePanel form. And so it doesn't have to be value exchange. It's just that's the one that works best. So doing it in this way, so adding a link to sign up to something in the thank you message actually gets you 42%. So the average of our clients when it comes to the value exchange model, you get 42% of contact data required for fundraisers. Now, this is absolutely key because these people have set up a birthday fundraiser for you, probably. That's the main thing. And so that it's not like lead generation. This is actually people who are already fundraising for you. They already love your cause. If you've ever done a fundraiser on Facebook, a birthday fundraiser, it's actually quite a vulnerable thing to do. And so they're very, very, very red hot supporters. You really, really want their data if you can get them. So getting 42% of their data is that's the top that we've ever got. We are still working at improving that. We are hoping to get above 50% of supporters. I don't think we'll ever get to 100%, unfortunately, but it's still definitely worth doing to get their contact details. So how this works in GivePanel is essentially we use the Facebook transaction reports. Our clients upload that really quickly into GivePanel, and then what we do is we enable you to put a dynamic link in our GivePanel message template. So you can create message templates in GivePanel where you can the other messages that you send out to fundraisers, and you can include things in there a little bit like email, like hi first name, and it will pre-populate the first name, and the form URL can be dynamic as well. And then you're just asking people to sign up for something, and lots of clients do different things. One client in Norway actually says, can we send you a birthday card? And that's a really nice way of doing it, and they get about 40% response rate from that. And then when the fundraiser fills in this this form, which looks very, very similar to Facebook, it feels on a mobile device from a fundraiser kind of experience, it feels like they never leave Facebook. We then match it on GivePanel back to the Facebook transaction reports, and then that means that you've got all this new data. You've enriched Facebook data with this new data, so about 40% enrichment on that Facebook data, and you can then import that into your own database, you know, so that you have these supporters for life. And that's what it's about. It's about actually getting lifetime value out of these people who want to support you, right? And asking them to keep in touch and asking them to do other things in the future. So here's an example that we kind of work to roughly. You know, if each new supporter to your organization was worth $300 over the entire lifetime of their support, and I think that's very low, but if they were, and you were getting 60 fundraisers on Facebook a month, then, you know, if you got 30 new supporters using this method a month, it'd be worth over 100,000 a year. And so, you know, and by the way, you've done all of that plus you've thanked them, which is the right thing to do anyway. So really, you're just adding a link into the thank you message. It's not really costing you anything more than the original thank you message. And so it's a great way to kind of generate more acquisition and revenue on top of the thanking strategy. Okay. So number one was it pays to thank people. Number two is get their contact information. And number three is do a campaign to drive more birthday fundraisers. So we're going to finish with two ways that you can, two methods that you can drive more fundraisers. Because obviously, right, the way that Facebook fundraising really took off was with birthday notifications. So you might know this, you might not know this, but 2 weeks before people's birthday, Facebook notifies them and says, look, hey, it's almost your birthday, create a fundraiser, select your nonprofit, and then you get a list of lots of nonprofits. And you might be lucky and be chosen lots, or you might not be. I think I said this before, but when we analyze our data, over 90% of the income from our nonprofit clients on Facebook fundraising is birthdays, okay? And some clients, for some reason, get absolutely huge amounts of birthday fundraising. Some get less, and I think it's to do with the size of your social media community, how many likes you've got, you know, how big your brand is within your region, things like that. But you know, what happens if you don't get many birthdays donated organically? So what happens if if you've switched on the Facebook tools, but you're not getting many birthday fundraisers just set up automatically because you're not being chosen when Facebook notifies people, you're not being chosen in the list because maybe you're not a big charity or you're not a charity that people are thinking of when they want to donate their birthday. Well, there is a method that you can do that can drive more birthdays. And we found this out when we were working with an amazing organization called SANS, who they deal with people who lose their babies, where their babies die. It's you know, obviously as a father, it's just like a very, very amazing charity that helps such an awful situation. You can't even put it into words what these people go through. But they had an awareness week, right? So they had an awareness week called Baby Loss Awareness Week in October. And what we decided to do is we decided to actually use Facebook advertising to drive more birthday fundraising, because we thought, look, if Facebook are driving all this birthday fundraising using a notification in the newsfeed, well, that's very similar to what a Facebook ad is. So we created some very simple Facebook ads to drive more birthday fundraising, and we spent about £2,000, about 2,500 US dollars, and we generated about £68,000, which is about $80,000 worth of birthday fundraising income. So that's a return on ad spend, a ROAS, return on ad spend, of over 20 to 1, with very, very simple Facebook ads. So you don't have to wait for Facebook to send you birthday fundraising. You can actually create an ad in the news feeds that gets your supporters, the people who already know you, to set up a birthday fundraiser. And I'm going to give you a very, very simple 2-step strategy to do that, okay? So this is our 2-step simple Facebook ad funnel, okay? It's really simple. In step 1, you want to use Facebook ads and target cold audiences. So if you don't know what I mean by cold audience, those are people who don't already know you. For example, interest audiences. So if you're a charity that deals with animals, say you're an animal charity and you deal with dogs, you might target people who like dogs, okay? They don't know you, they don't have a relationship with you, but you know that they like dogs. And then what you can do is you can filter by their birthday month, okay? So when you create an ad on Facebook and you target people who are interested in dogs, you can say, give me people who are interested in dogs whose birthday is in February, for example. And then what you can do is the month before, so in January, you can run ads to people who you know like dogs and have a birthday in February. So the whole of January, people can be seeing your content, your stories about dogs, and you know that they have a birthday the next month. And you just want to serve those video ads to them that introduce your nonprofit, right? Don't assume that they know what you do, engage in content essentially, right? You could even do this as a boost of your existing page posts. So you want to kind of warm them up. That's what step 1's about. It's about warming them up. And then step 2, you can then target anyone who is engaged with that Facebook content, right? So you can do this in Facebook. It's quite simple. Target anyone who's engaged with your Facebook content, and 1 week you can actually target them 1 week before their birthday. That's another targeting option in Facebook. So you have 2 targeting options. You can target by birthday month, and you can target someone who it's 1 week before their birthday, and that ad asks them directly to set up a birthday fundraiser on Facebook. And that is the best way to do it. So you have a simple 2-step. It's step 1, you warm them up the month before, and then during the month, you just target them 1 week before their birthday, and they've already seen some great content about you, about what you do, how you help dogs in this example. And then when you come to ask them to set up a Facebook fundraiser, it's like, oh, I'll do that. That's simple. And obviously Facebook makes it so simple to set up a fundraiser. 2 taps and they can set up a birthday fundraiser. Very, very simple. So you can drive a lot of this with a small amount of budget. You don't have to spend a large amount of budget to get results, and it can just be fun to test this kind of stuff. So yeah, that strategy is basically using Facebook ads, not waiting for it to drive more birthday income, okay? And then the final strategy I wanted to share with you to boost your Facebook fundraising is to launch a virtual challenge. And we're doing more and more of these, and they're actually absolutely great. I'll tell you a little bit more about them in a minute. But how we saw this is an example of a client's GivePanel dashboard actually in Ireland. And we saw this huge spike, and this was happening for a number of different clients, and we were like, what is going on? And we actually contacted Facebook and said, have you changed anything on the platform? Have you introduced a new feature? And it turned out that these clients were doing these virtual challenges in a very, very new way. And we got really into this, and now we thoroughly support their strategy and talk about it a lot. Just to say that Just Giving, which has now been bought by Blackboard and is part of the Blackboard platform in the US, in last year, I was going to say last year, but it's now we're 2020 now. But in 2018 saw over 1,000% increase in virtual events. So virtual events are still relatively small compared to like all of fundraising, like if you include like running and walking and cycling and other things, but actually they're growing at a huge rate. And this is something that I think is working really, really well. And so what is a virtual event? So here's a good example. This is an organization called the Matter Foundation, and they just did a very, very simple virtual challenge, which is 10,000 steps in a day in May. So what are you doing? You're not having to like create a big fundraising event, like a big kind of official walk or run. You're allowing people to do it in their own way virtually. So they can virtually take part in this. And all they have to do is sign up, and then I'll talk about how it works. But essentially, you can just put a Facebook ad in. In this example, Matter Foundation spent about $2,500, and then they raised from this 1 month challenge $41,000 from Facebook fundraisers. So a really, really, you can spend less than that even. I think their first test was more like $100. So you can start really small with these as well. But what you're doing is you're offering people something to do that they already want to do. People already want to walk more. They already want to get healthy. And so you're offering something for them to do and to take place in a month, and just keeping it really, really simple. And what you can do is you can build really great communities on Facebook around these virtual challenges. So here's some of the community engagement for this particular one. You can see here Michelle on the left, day 28 done, fab evening, taking photos, posting it in the group. And so you really want to use Facebook groups to kind of build these communities around virtual challenges. You can see here the level of engagement, almost 12,000 posts in a Facebook group around this virtual challenge. Just absolutely huge engagement, because people are doing something that they want to do anyway for a great cause, okay? And so the key to success with virtual challenges is, we recommend using Facebook lead ads to get initial signups. So the way that you do these Facebook virtual challenges is you keep everyone on Facebook. You don't take them off to your website to sign up, because that is not part of what, Facebook fundraising works really well because it's so convenient. People don't have to leave. So with these key to these virtual challenges is using things like Facebook lead ads, using Facebook groups, and keeping the entire experience on Facebook. Okay, because Facebook's a really dynamic environment where you're getting a lot of interaction, a lot of social interaction. So as soon as they leave your website in comparison is a very static thing. What you want to do is you want to keep people excited and keep them on Facebook if you can. And the key thing, and the thing we love about this, is when you do this, you get them to register for a pack, and before they set up their Facebook fundraising page. And so guess what? Instead of getting 0% data from Facebook, you get 100% of the data of these fundraisers that are doing these virtual challenges. And we absolutely love it for that. So this idea that you don't get the data from Facebook fundraising isn't true. You can get the data for Facebook fundraising if you're prepared to do things differently. Okay, so guys, just to recap, I think we need some questions, but turn on the tools if you haven't already. They're super amazing. Number 2, pays to say thank you. You're gonna, just by thanking people, you're gonna generate more income. Do a birthday campaign on Facebook if you've got some budget, or launch a virtual challenge. And those are the things that are gonna help you really start to really snowball your Facebook fundraising income. And just to say, before we go into questions, there's some free resources. I'll leave this up here while we take questions. We write a lot of free stuff for our blog, and we have a Facebook group as well, a community of people, of peer-to-peer support, really, non-profits helping out other non-profits, but we moderate it and help it be a really active place. And it's all about Facebook fundraising. And finally, there's some, Facebook themselves has some great case studies. So Heather, I think I'll stop there.
Okay, great.
And answer any questions. And
Yeah,
and then
we've done a lot,
I've got my
actually.
contact
So
details.
let's just pick up with the last thing that you were talking about and do a simple question, which is, what is a gift pack? Or register for a pack? What is a pack? This might be a US, UK thing.
Yes, it probably is. Can you still hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, so sorry, register for a fundraising pack. So a fundraising pack is something that just supports the fundraiser. It tells them about the event that they're doing. Maybe it has a T-shirt in it. So it's just a fundraising pack. So if you're doing an event, normally a nonprofit would send something to the fundraiser when they do that. So it's just a pack in the post, right? That just, I mean, it's great. People wear the T-shirt, and when they're walking or doing your virtual challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And they take pictures with the T-shirt on. So we love the T-shirt as like almost a bribe for registering for the event. It works really, really well.
Okay. And does this pack include things like social media messages that they can share, a draft email, anything like that?
So we really prefer sending something in the post and keeping
Okay.
it super simple. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a thank you card, a little kind of letter, and something like a T-shirt. And really, what we see is if you do the hard work and fulfill and send them that pack, they raise a lot more. They're more likely to start their fundraising page, and they're more likely to raise more. So it's really worth the investment of sending that pack. And it's the reason that you can ask them for data. So
I
they
see.
can't really take part unless they register for that pack. And
I
who
see.
wants to register for stuff, right? You need to kind
Yeah.
of bribe them with something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Bribe in a good way, right?
Yeah. And we've got a few questions on that one. Some nonprofits, they can't afford to pay for a t-shirt. Is there an option to charge $5 for the pack? Any experience there? Or kind of you got to spend money to make money kind of mentality?
Yeah, I mean, what we find is that the people are so engaged when they sign up for these virtual challenges in the group. You've made money on Facebook even before you send the packs.
Okay.
So you
And
have to build. I would build it into the cost, the income that you're going to get out of it.
mm-hmm. And have you ever seen a t-shirt that maybe, a nonprofit can partner with a local business
Yes,
and
that happens all the time. I was just speaking to a charity called water.org, and they
mhm.
actually get all their T-shirts. Don't know if you guys have heard of them, but water.org get all their T-shirts donated by a partner. So
Okay.
that's amazing. You can totally do that. Put their logo on the shirt as well. I think that's a fabulous idea.
Okay, wonderful. Now, let me go back a little bit to some of the early questions. So, it's interesting listening to this, and it's unfortunate that Facebook named these things Facebook fundraisers because there's a lot of confusion around the fundraiser, the person, and the fundraiser, the actual page.
Correct.
So, can you clarify that when you say they're supposed to post thank you messages on the wall, that is indeed the wall of the fundraiser page and not the personal wall of the
That's
fundraising person?
that is correct. So every time a fundraiser sets up their fundraising page,
Mhm.
it's they're all public. So they're all public, and so you have access to post on that page on that wall. And so that is correct. I mean, it's the Facebook fundraisers page,
Right, not their personal profile.
not their personal profile.
Yeah, because that would be spammy and annoying.
Yeah, so what we find is if they've set up a fundraising page, a Facebook fundraising page for your organization, and then you post a message as that organization on their Facebook page, they love it. We've
I
never
bet.
got any bad thing. They absolutely love the support.
Yeah, I was browsing through some fundraising pages while you were talking, and I hadn't seen any nonprofits post a thank you message. And I thought, what a missed opportunity that they're not engaging with their fundraisers. And just on a little side note, I've donated to probably 50 nonprofits on Facebook. I have opted in every time to provide my email address. I have never received a thank you email.
And
So
I
yeah,
think, yeah,
I think individuals are out there doing their part on Facebook, giving and fundraising, and nonprofits are kind of dropping the ball on that. That's my personal opinion.
yes, and just to say about that, we agree, and we have a feature in GivePanel where you can literally see in one click all the people who are subscribed to your list and then export it so you can
Yeah.
import it into tools like MailChimp. I think one of the big problems is, nonprofits don't even know the report. The report is so confusing. They don't know what the email means, who's signed up, and that's where obviously with GivePanel we want to make that very clear for our clients.
Well, that's very valuable because it's been somewhat baffling that nonprofits aren't thanking their Facebook donors, right? The people that opt in. One simple question. So when someone creates a Facebook fundraiser, a page for a nonprofit, how is that nonprofit notified?
Great question. It's one of the big requests that nonprofits have been asking Facebook for a long time. The problem is you are not notified.
Mm-hmm.
And so that doesn't happen. But what we've done in GivePanel is when you upload the Facebook transaction report into GivePanel, we will tell you which ones are new, which ones you have not seen before. So that's the closest we've got to a notification. You can see very clearly which ones are new to your organization. One
Wow.
problem with the Facebook fundraising page on your Facebook page is it only shows fundraisers that have raised $50 US. So you don't even know about it until it's raised $50, let alone when the fundraiser starts it. And
So I want
on
to make sure I understood what you said, that those fundraising pages don't even show up on Facebook in that fundraisers tab on the left side of a fundraising page until it hits $50 US?
correct.
Wow, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, and so with GivePanel, you'll find out about what we want you to do is discover fundraisers a lot earlier, right? Especially when
Sure.
a lot of these, the 99% of Facebook fundraisers are over in 2 weeks. And so if you only engage them after they've reached $50, the kind of their engagement has dropped significantly. And what we find is if we can message fundraisers really quickly when they first started, they're super engaged, they're more likely to sign up and raise more.
Okay. And another question is just to clarify, so when a donor gives, there is that opportunity to hit the tick box and provide their email. When a fundraiser creates a fundraising page, an individual creates a fundraising page to fundraise for a nonprofit, is there at any time during that process an opportunity for them to opt in and provide their email? What I heard is absolutely not, but I just want to make sure that's the case.
You're correct. Absolutely not, which is why you get 0% contact details.
Right, which brings up the important part of GivePanel, which is learning how to easily do the thank you process. And this made me think of MySpace, actually. In the early days of MySpace, for those of you that used it and you were building a brand on MySpace, Nonprofit Tech for Good started on MySpace, and I would literally sit there for 3 or 4 hours a day posting thank you comments on walls. Thank you for following. Thank you for friending me. And it kind of taught me this grit and this ability to do grunt work on social media. So a lot of times I hear nonprofits like, oh my gosh, we don't have the time to post on people's walls. But it makes me think about MySpace, is that Nonprofit Tech for Good wouldn't exist if we didn't do that kind of grunt work of thank you, thank you, thank you. So do you hear that in any of your discussions of, oh, Jan, we can't do that, that's a waste of time, when clearly your data says it's not a waste of time? How do you speak to nonprofits who just kind of think that that's a waste of time or that's just spammy or something that they don't want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I totally hear you. And I think with digital fundraising, we've got used to things being kind of bulk and scalable. But actually, some of the best digital fundraisers I know realize that if you do some things like hand-to-hand, face-to-face stuff that doesn't scale, it can be the stuff that really helps you build a digital program. I would say like the way that we do it is, first of all, we make sure we understand the return on the investment of time, right? So every fundraiser you think is going to be worth an extra $5 or $10, and you can do 50 in an hour. Well, that's a pretty good return, right? Right there.
Yeah.
And the second thing, we are working, although it is manual, we are working to try and speed it up. So before we did GivePanel, we were doing this using spreadsheets, and it was a pain and it was awful. And we have improved that process so much to make it so it's almost fun the way you can do it in GivePanel now, right? So like, yes, it's manual, but we've improved it quite a lot. Yeah, so I think there'll always be people who say we don't have enough time. I'm like, you kind of like, if you're a great fundraiser, you have something inside you as a great fundraiser who really wants to thank people who do stuff for you, right?
Okay.
And so like I'm waiting for the real fundraisers to show up and really get out there, and not be addicted to just sending out an email, right? I think there's so many digital opportunities which can be done through more kind of Yeah, more one-to-one approach. And some of these people, by the way, Heather, some of these people are super celebrity ambassadors for your organization, and you discover them by going through it one-to-one. I was doing a demo with one client where we found a Facebook celebrity ambassador that they didn't know about, who was raising a lot of money for them, that had 500,000 followers, and they would not have found them if they hadn't done a little bit more work.
Of the grunt work, yeah.
Yeah.
So just a quick note here, we have tons of questions. We have plenty of time. People who want to stay on and listen to the Q&A, I'll try to get to all of them. It's being recorded, but I don't want to rush myself, so I want to make sure that we get through all the questions.
Well, can I just say, just if people have to go, like I'm like more than happy to chat to them. Here's my email address, and you can get in touch about any questions if you have to run. We'd love to hear about you. We'd love to show you GivePanel. So I'll just leave that up there if that's okay, Heather.
Okay, and then also, of course, you'll be sending a link where people can get a demo. A lot of people are asking how much GivePanel costs. So yes. I'm going to put you on the spot there, and I don't even know how much it costs. How much does it cost to use your tools?
So it depends on how many transactions you get. It starts at $39 a month.
Wonderful. There you go. So it's attainable for small nonprofits. And
yeah, so it goes up. It goes up from there.
Yeah, and you work with all nonprofits that have access to Facebook fundraising tools, which is, in my understanding, 501c3s in the United States who have a back number in Europe, and then there's Australia. It's not all countries in the world, but anyone that can access Facebook fundraising tools, you will work with them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right. I have a question for you. So let's say you're going through and you're posting the thank you comments and the pictures, and then somebody signs up, I think you said 40% opt-in rate, I can't remember, and they sign in, say, hey, yeah, I'll sign up for that, because I'm a fundraiser and I'm going to give you my email address. What's the process after that? So now you have the email and maybe even the mailing address, the snail mail address. Do you suggest that maybe you ask for their birthday as well, so the next year you can send them an email and say, hey, thanks, you fundraised for us last year? What do you expect, or what advice do you give that once they have the email address of the fundraisers, what do they do next?
Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. It's something where obviously it takes a long time to figure that out, to get the results of what clients are doing with the data. So the first thing I would say is just mention what you said about like sending them a birthday, like getting their birth date. What we found is if we ask for date of birth, it really reduces the response rate on the message. So what instead, we know when they started their fundraiser for their birthday anyway. So we kind of have their birthday fundraiser start date from last year. So we use that data point to then add to the email. And so what you want to do is you want to keep these people separate. That's the first thing I would say is don't just put them in a big bucket with everyone else, because you'll never work out what they're like, what to do with them most effectively going forward. My feeling is what you want to do is you want to put them in a separate email list and send them what we would call a welcome series. I don't know what you would call it, if you'd call it something similar, but you'd send them kind of 4 or 5 emails over the course of, say, a few months, just introducing them to your organization. Many of them are new, and you want to introduce them to what you're doing, not just ask them for money, right? You want to engage them in your cause, so they become like really, really powerful supporters for the long term.
Okay, excellent. People, just a simple question. Would you suggest that okay, I know your answer to this. You thank the fundraiser, you don't thank the donor, correct?
Correct. I'll tell you a story. When we first started doing this manually with clients, we ended up trying to thank all of the donors on the fundraising pages one by one. You can imagine how much time that took, but we wanted to test this. And it turned out that it really pissed off the fundraisers.
I bet.
Because essentially it's their donors, right? They feel very protective of their donors. Their donors are giving to them because they have a relationship. And suddenly, as an organization, you're going in and kind of spamming all their donors on their page. They really don't like it. Yeah. So what you've got to focus on is who is the real value add to your organization. And it's the super supporter who set up the fundraiser, not all the donors. You kind of have to let that go a bit and realize that they're very cold. and they do have the chance to opt in like you have done, right? And if they have, then they've actively ticked that box. And so every donor has a chance. You kind of have to leave it at that and go from there.
All right. Here's a good question. So have you found that rewards or prices are effective in incentivizing fundraisers? For example, anyone that raises $1,000 gets a necklace, anyone who raises $2,500 gets some kind of gift set, and then the top fundraiser, wins a trip to Paris or something like that.
So, I mean, the answer is I don't have any data on that for Facebook fundraising yet. We are kind of testing that kind of thing. I expect it's definitely true in peer-to-peer fundraising, right, that works. So we would like to test it on Facebook. We expect it would work very well. So we're currently doing kind of tests, but I don't have the data to share with you, unfortunately. But I think it's a great idea, and like it's such early days for this. We need to be testing a lot more, right? And we are. So yeah, it's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah. So interesting. Reading a lot of the questions, a lot of them are really basic. So that just kind of signifies that we are in the beginning, that everybody's still learning how this works. Even though maybe if you're a fundraiser and you're in the bubble of this, these tools have been around for, I think, 4 years now. But some of the basic questions, something I actually think would be a great blog post, maybe GivePanel, of one of those and you can send it to me. But a lot of people don't understand the reporting. So you said the reporting's confusing. How do we train the email addresses? So people are actually using Facebook fundraising tools and they've got email addresses and they have no idea where to find them. So do you know of a resource or can you create one that does a screenshot? Like I saw the Excel document that you put in your presentation. That's like so 1998. It's kind of funny. Why doesn't Facebook provide more? Like, here's what your report looks like. Here's how you're supposed to use the report. Can you think of a good resource that actually breaks down the back end of Facebook fundraising tools?
Yeah, so we have a very detailed long blog post. I can give you the link called A Simple Guide to Facebook Fundraising Transaction Reports.
Oh, perfect.
And what it does is it takes the information that Facebook do have on their kind of help section, which is very hard to find, and it breaks it down with screenshots. It tells you how to get the reports. It tells you every single data item and a little kind of explanation about understanding what fields are what for. I mean, it has everything and all the confusions you can run into and all the kind of misleading stuff you can run into. So we've got that on our blog. I think I put the resource, the link to the blog here. You can see it on the screen. But also I'll send, if you think that would be helpful, I'll include that in the email that I send out to everyone with the recording.
I think that would be helpful. And also in the email, put a link to your Facebook group and Facebook case studies. People love resources.
Great, I will. We will.
All right.
Great, that's really helpful to know.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've already done that.
Okay, good. Let me see. So I wrote that up. There's a lot of questions here. Let me have just a second to kind of go through them a little bit. Oh, so you're just using the Facebook API. You don't have any insight with Facebook. You're not, like Facebook isn't cluing you into what's coming next. You're just working with what they provide through their API. Is that right?
We have to be a little bit careful, obviously, with our business to protect ourselves from Facebook, as well as try and partner with them because, we don't want them to be able to switch off tomorrow. So actually, we don't currently even use the API. We're completely independent.
Wow.
Because we need to protect ourselves. But we do have a great relationship with them, and they're interested to know what nonprofits think about Facebook fundraising and what challenges they have. And so we obviously speak to hundreds of nonprofits, and so yeah, we advise them. They don't tell me anything that's coming next. So any kind of futuristic kind of thinking is definitely coming from just gut and experience and what I understand, not from kind of anything that I know about Facebook. And in fact, I couldn't share that anyway because they made me sign an NDA. So.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right, so here's more technical question. So I remember when these Facebook fundraising tools first came out, a page, like let's say Amnesty International, they could create a page and it was a fundraiser page and it would say page created by Amnesty International.
Yeah.
And then they would send out that link on Giving Tuesday or a special campaign or something. And then they turned that off, right? They said, nope, nope, that's not the way we're going to do it. We're going to go to individuals. Where does that stand now? Can a page, a nonprofit, a certified nonprofit page, create a Facebook fundraiser page that says created by the nonprofit name?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have clients that get a lot of income from just doing lots and lots of small page fundraisers for, like, it works brilliantly for small nonprofits that need something, like need funding for a specific thing that is around £1,000 or £2,000.
Yeah.
It just works brilliant. If you have a piece of equipment you need or whatever, they just work really well.
So a nonprofit could create a fundraiser page for a small campaign or for Giving Tuesday, and then people can actually create, is this correct? Their individuals can create fundraising pages from that page, yes or no?
No.
No, okay.
So you can only donate, individuals can only donate to that fundraiser.
Okay.
And the real power of it, to be honest, I think Giving Tuesday is a distraction. Let me just say that. I think it's a distraction. I think your strategy needs to be way deeper than that. And I think that the way that I would use page fundraisers is to get those people who want to donate to something really tangible and can understand it. You know, you want a piece of equipment, it's going to cost $800, fundraise for that, and you'll do that in like 24 hours, and it's just really, really useful. That's the way to use page fundraisers for me.
Okay.
We've been, let me just stop there.
Okay, all right. I was doing some research and I got a little lost and wasn't paying attention during the virtual challenge. And there's a few questions about, can you just explain that again? What is a virtual challenge?
Yeah, so we know for years fundraising events have worked really well, right? Like large bicycle rides or like marathon runs. Yeah, we know that raises money when people do some kind of challenge themselves, right?
Okay.
But now you can do that without. So what has been happening for quite a few years is the rise of virtual challenges where people can all, like, you can run 10K, but you don't have to go to an event to run the 10K. The charity doesn't have to set up the event. You can all just run 10K in your own time and take part in a virtual event. And so what we've kind of been pioneering and driving and kind of discovering is the idea of a Facebook virtual challenge where you ask people to do something for you, a challenge like they can take. A physical challenge is the best way to get your head around it, and they do that in their own time with their own things, but you're all part of a community doing it. So one of our clients, for example, asked people to do 3,000 squats in a month.
Right.
Okay. It was a woman's charity, and they challenged women to do 3,000 squats in a month, and it raised lots of money.
Okay, I get it now. All right, so that could be fun and requires some creativity, so that's good. Thank you. Let me see.
Yeah, the good news about that is, the good news about that is you can make a lot of income in a short space of time. At any one week, in any 1 month, there's only like 8% of people having their birthday. With a virtual challenge, if you find something that people already want to do, you can drive a lot of people into that kind of fundraising experience.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people that want to lose weight and start walking or running or doing whatever.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of those in the UK? A lot of virtual challenges?
No, this is a very new thing that we're kind of helping pioneer, and we're seeing work really, really well. We see a lot of virtual events, but the problem with virtual events is charities have spent a lot of money setting up their own platforms.
Right.
And this is the key difference, is if you can keep the virtual challenge on Facebook, it works a lot better and raises a lot more money.
Yeah, because I hadn't think in the last year of any kind of email that challenged me to literally a physical activity or something in real life. So that does sound new, so nonprofits take note. And if they're starting it in the UK or anywhere in the world, it's probably going to be something that's going to be popular soon.
It's quite big in Australia. Australia and Ireland are quite big with virtual events already.
Okay, got a question for you. So I can think over the years of a young person, which would now be Gen Z, but also millennials, that would come up to me at a training or something like that. And it always goes like this. They are young, they're enthusiastic, they live on social media, they get Facebook fundraising tools, they understand that if they're just given the green light and they can use it, that they'll be able to raise a lot of money. And then it tends to hit this wall, kind of the traditional fundraising, well, we're not using it if we can't get their contact information, right? We can't get their mailing address, so we just aren't going to use the tools. And what makes me think about that is I was thinking, I'm subscribed to probably 200 different nonprofits via email, and I can't think of one time this year that any large nonprofit sent me an email saying Facebook or create a fundraiser for us on Facebook. And my guess is they're saying, no, we're not going to do that because we can't get the contact info.
Yeah, correct.
Personally, I think that's an old-fashioned way of thinking. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think, I showed that you can get 40% of the data, and with the virtual challenge model and other models, you can also get 100% of the data, right?
Yeah.
So that's one way, is, keeping an eye on that. But also, I think you've just got to kind of like the world is evolving. Data privacy is a massive issue. Third-party platforms like Facebook and Twitter and stuff are absolutely massive and scalable. So for me, it's about, it's like adapt or die, right? And so you have to adapt to the world. You can't sacrifice like a ridiculous amount of income, a ridiculous amount of engagement. You can't sacrifice that on the altar of data all the time. Yeah. Sometimes you have to realize, you have to ask the what if question. Well, how would it work if we didn't get the data, right? Mm-hmm. Because for me, that's a sacred cow that we need to kind of look at, the data thing. We need to challenge it and go, why are we so addicted to data? Are people really giving through email in the way that we thought they would? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, we are kind of addicted to data, and I think this challenges us. Like, get data if you can get data, but don't sacrifice all this good stuff on the altar of like having to have full control over data.
And I think you bring up a really good point, because in the UK, you all have been living and breathing GDPR for years. So you have to prepare to, how do we fundraise without data? And here in California, or I'm not in California, but here in the United States, California just passed a similar privacy law. So I have a client in California who, they're actually the sponsor of a report I publish, and we've been collecting email addresses. And they're being forward thinking, you download the report by giving your email address, and they just said, we can't do it anymore. Like, collecting email is not the way of the future. Collecting data is not the way of the future. And instead, we're going to just get really good at content and good storytelling and kind of some of the things you were saying, creative ways to get the data. But I think it's very true that the future is not just what we've been doing. Click here, click this box, download, provide your mailing address. So yeah, I just think that's a really good point, and it's hitting in the United States as well. So I don't even think most nonprofits understand what just passed in California, which is pretty much the equivalent of GDPR. So if they're getting donations from California, they're probably in violation of the new privacy law. So getting more creative at ways of capturing data, or just fundraising, I think is really important. And GivePanel, I think you saw the future and you responded on that, or at least you're adapting. You're being a perfect example of how do you adapt to a tool to get successful in fundraising.
Yeah, and I think, like, I love what you're saying about you got to find creative ways, and that's the way that we think, is like, you've got to go with, you've got to be donor focused and fundraiser focused and do what they want to do. If they don't want to leave Facebook and they want to do it that way, we have to adapt, and we have to find creative solutions to that. But also we have to think of, like, why did we want data in the first place? Well, we want data to build really great relationships, right? And that's why we want data. And so if we can build really great relationships in different ways that solves that problem, it's like, well, do we really need an email address? Like, maybe there's something else that we can do. Maybe we can drive people into a messenger group. Maybe we can drive people into a Facebook group. Maybe we can use WhatsApp. There's like a ton of other platforms now. And I think it's also, to be fair, Heather, like, I've run into this with consultants, fundraising consultants, who have bashed the giving tools. because of the data scenario. And I think there's like there's no one really speaking about like the fact that we're in a slightly different world now with mobile, and it's less about email, right?
Right. I mean, we still love email, but I agree in that saying don't use it because it doesn't provide data is bad advice. But anyway, we've talked about that for a while. I've got two last remaining interesting questions for you and shifting the story a bit. So one person is asking, and it was the last question I had on my list to ask, but it's going to be the second to last. The integration or the expansion of Facebook fundraising tools to Instagram, right? So now you can donate through Instagram stories. You can also add a donate button to your Instagram profile. I believe if you connect your Instagram account to your Facebook page, number one, is GivePanel watching that? And do you have any plans to expand into kind of providing useful tools for Instagram? And number two, just so we know, how does that data of donors turn up, do they tick a box and then you get their email address? So how's this integration working with Instagram and Facebook and fundraising tools?
It's a great question. So I'll just answer it directly. So when someone donates on Instagram to your organization, it comes in the Facebook transaction reports. It's therefore in GivePanel. You can see your Instagram donations in GivePanel. There's kind of a special Instagram feature already. And so we can see across all of our clients, we can see how big Instagram fundraising is. It's incredibly small.
Yeah.
And there is currently no way to steward those donors if they do not decide to be added to your email list.
Okay.
So if they are decided to add to your email list, you can kind of see that in GivePanel and in the reports, right?
Right.
So the key thing so does that answer your question? I've also got one thought about kind of the future of Instagram.
Well, yes, please do, because the technology isn't there yet, but it could be.
I think the technology is there, the application isn't there. So it's a little bit like when Facebook first launched Facebook Donate. It was like interesting, but it didn't scale. And then when they suddenly tested it on lots of different things and found birthdays, and birthdays kind of took off like crazy.
Right.
Right, because birthdays were already part of the Facebook platform, it made sense.
Right.
What's happened on Instagram?
Right.
So
my Instagram donate calls don't show up in the feed yet. Is that right?
I don't know 100%. So it shows you can add it to your basically your content, and then you can kind of promote that content in Instagram. But I think the key thing it's missing they added it to stickers to start with.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been, it's quite hidden. It's quite you try and find the sticker even knowing it's there is quite difficult. So they haven't found the kind of use case scenario application that will make it take off. But in my view, they will find that and it will be huge. And guess what? The people who make money out of that future thing are going to be the people who are getting serious about the other stuff now.
That's right.
And so the organizations that made it massive on birthday fundraising were the ones that signed up for Facebook Donate even before birthday fundraising came along.
Yeah.
And so you need to be kind of in it to win it.
Sorry, go ahead. It always seems to be the early adopters, right? The Humane Society, they're the first ones to do it, and then they're pioneering every new tool when it comes out, and it pays off for them in the long run.
Right, because then you're there when it takes off, right? And you're not lagging. So I just I don't think Instagram is I can't foresee the future with that, but right now it's not big, but that doesn't mean this year at some point they're going to launch some feature that we don't even know about that just goes. And they're so good at testing Facebook. This is what people don't realize. Do you know that Facebook do 100 tests a day across their platforms? 100 multivariate tests a day.
Testing what?
Everything, every single thing, tiny little thing. So because they have so many users and they've set it up, they've got a platform that is dedicated internally to developers where developers can just launch tests as like a button color, a word difference, a functionality here, a change here, and they're able to test that on a small subsection of users and find results very quickly. And this is how they cracked birthday fundraising. So They're going to do the same thing with Instagram. They're probably doing tons of tests right now.
Right.
And, you know, tomorrow they could discover a next big thing. I'd want to be there. You know, if I was a nonprofit, I'd want to be ready.
I've read that they're going to be expanding payments, not donate yet, but to Facebook Messenger and to WhatsApp. You hit WhatsApp? Are you kidding? I mean, globally, WhatsApp is huge.
Huge.
Huge. So, yeah, kind of exciting. On the last note, how do you, again, sometimes even I feel uncomfortable about it. Facebook owns Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger. We have all these amazing fundraising tools out there that have spent 10, 20 years building these fundraising tools. And then, I mean, what are the ethical concerns about now everybody's donating through social media? What about, you know, Just Giving? What about Virgin Money? What about Network for Good in the United States? I mean, as fundraisers, how do we ethically wrap around, you know, the idea of consolidating all this donation power into Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and WhatsApp?
Yeah, so people are worried that like one company controls it all. Yeah. And I guess like that is a valid concern, right? What happens if all of those other platforms like die out and Facebook across Messenger and Instagram and WhatsApp, they control everything, right? I think that's like, you know, I'm a marketing fundraising guy who wants to fundraise and market in 2020, not 2030. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about those things. I think much more of an ethical problem than the kind of Facebook swallows fundraising problem is actually much more about kind of some organizations, the values of some organizations compared to some of the problems with social media. So for example, you might be an organization that is kind of, you know, deals with mental health, and Facebook, the Facebook mobile app is very addictive and it might be causing mental health problems, right? Might be. I'm not saying it is. Facebook don't want to be sued by Facebook. What I'm saying is that those kind of things I think are more ethical problems, like, you know, the political problem with political ads. Those kind of things I think are a little bit more on people's minds, non-profit minds, than Facebook swallowing everything. I don't think that's so much of a concern, because I think the next thing will come around the corner, right?
Right.
And
well,
Facebook might have to buy it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think Facebook will eventually become traditional and need to be disrupted. So like that doesn't worry me. There's other ethical issues that are kind of, I'm not an ethics professor kind of thing, so I can't talk to them, but I know some charities really struggle with using Facebook for fundraising because they're concerned about the conflict of interest between social media and their cause area.
That's right. Like if you're an organization that works with teenagers, and then you have all this data that social media is making teenagers depressed. Anyway, I just think that's very important conversation. I just think that side of the conversation needs to be had, as well as here's all the great things. I am seeing some donation platforms here changing, they're evolving. So they're integrating with Facebook. So for example, if a person creates a fundraiser on Facebook, that information is duplicated on the nonprofit website, and it looks like a Facebook fundraiser that's created on that nonprofit website. It doesn't look like a Facebook page, but it's the same data, and they're using the API, right? So we'll see some evolution there. But anyway, Nick, thank you so much. If we didn't live 8,000 miles apart, I'd like to take you out for a beer, because I think you're an interesting person, and we really appreciate the webinar today.
Great. Thanks, guys, and thanks for all the questions, and I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much.